on that. All right, where should we start today? Has anyone got a question they'd like to answer? What about Iqbal? If you wouldn't mind also, everyone knows Iqbal of course, but if you wouldn't mind just saying your name, which organisation you're from.
And then my question, as I was going to ask when Gary is there's a general perception of the Liberal Party that on the basis of that perception, we draw a caricature of Liberal parties carrying a chopper that will cut the jobs. That is a very common perception in Canada. We must be facing this issue. And how do you address that question? Because we are a public service town, and the confidence that comes with a strong public service and small businesses is because of a large number of us are public servants. And when we think about Liberal Party, whenever they come, with that perception that they will cut their jobs, how are you going to address that?
There's a real dichotomy in approach to public service, and I think if you go back to the Carnell Humphreys government, they stood up to Howard and said this is wrong. Now, when the federal Labor government started cutting recently, Tony Gallagher and Andrew Barr have never condemned them to the cuts. Never condemned them to the cuts. In fact, when they cut funding to the National Gallery, Andrew Barr said this will be really good because the National Gallery is going to cut their travelling program, which means more people will come to Canberra. The Greens are the same. They have never stood up to the Gillard government and said don't cut public servants. And they actually had the opportunity. They could have blocked the budget federally and said save all those jobs, whether it's, and it's interesting the numbers, the federal government says 1,400. The numbers themselves are 4,500 and the projections are 14,000. So, yeah, look, we suffer from the image, and I would simply say the only people consistently in the ACT that stand up for Canberra against all federal government are actually Canberra. Zen has said we will hire, not fire. We've got a program we want to put in place. We need the jobs to do that. The thing about Canberra and the Canberra Liberals is that we understand that public service is our number one industry. Okay, and you don't take an axe to your number one industry. So we protect the job. At the same time, we'd be very happy to grow the private sector. My background is private industry. My family owned real estate and news agencies for almost 40 years. So it's that complementary, that there are lots of smart things. And if I can give you one example on the private sector, before the last election, there's a lovely firm in Canberra called Spark Solar. Spark Solar have a patent on something called the ABC solar cell. It changes the angle of refraction, so it gets more photons and it creates more electricity. They came to us and said, would we support them? And we said yes. When we were negotiating with the Greens, they said, if we make you government, will you support them? And we said yes. And the Greens chose the Labor Party. And guess what? Spark Solar still doesn't have the factory that they want to set up at the ACT. The gentleman will ask about the blue collar jobs. These were production line jobs that the ACT doesn't have a lot of. 4 years later, we still don't have Spark Solar operating factory in the ACT because there's only one party interested in jobs, whether they're private or public sector in the ACT. That's the
Thank you very much.